Hi everybody, my name is Stephanie Thiessen and I'm your GelMoment independent distributor. I wanted to show you guys today how to use a tea bag to repair a cut or broken split nail. Now this method works really well for cuts that are not all the way through the nail. You can see how my nail here is split and it's not all the way across. If it was all the way across, there'd probably be no saving it. But you can see how it's split here. So I'm going to show you how using a really simple method with the tea bag and some Clearly Frisky and how we're going to repair that so that it is good as new. And that way you don't have to say goodbye to one lonely, beautiful nail. So we're going to take our tea bag and we're going to cut our tea bag so that it is the size of about the cut on our nail. So we're going to use not the edges here where there's a bit of a seam. We don't want to use that. We want to use a smooth side. So I'm going to use from the bottom of the tea bag. So I'm just going to measure about where I want it to go. And I want it to overlap on all sides. So I'm going to cut it like this. And I'm going to cut it a little bit big to start with. And then I will cut it down so that it is the right size for the split in my nail. So we don't want to double up on the tea bag here. So I'm going to open it because it was on the fold at the bottom. I have two pieces here, so you can save this piece for hopefully not next time, but the next time you have a split or broken nail that you are looking to repair. I'm just going to pull that apart there. So you can see I have my piece of tea bag here, and so we have that ready to go. So I'm just going to measure it on my nail. Oh, I dropped it and now I can't see it. Oh, there it is. So I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to put it on the nail where it's going to go, and I'm just going to look and make sure that it's not too big, not too small. So it's a little bit big for the size that I need, so I'm just going to trim it down a little bit. See how that works. So I like that. It's going to cover on all edges. It's going to go up the nail a little bit. I could cut this a little bit smaller so it doesn't come quite as far up the nail, but I don't want to do that because it's going to make handling of the little piece here a little bit difficult. So I'm just going to put it there so I know where it is. So now that I have my tea bag cut, I'm going to prepare the nail just like I would for my manicure normally. I'm going to push my cuticles back. Mine are nice and clean, so I don't need to do that. And then I'm going to use the gray buffer side of the nail file to gently buff the surface of the nail. Now, because your nail is cracked or broken, you need to be really careful doing this because if you pull back on it, it will just rip the whole nail off. So be very gentle when you're doing your buffing the surface of your nail, just making sure that you're not catching that crack and ripping it the rest of the way. So once you've buffed your nail and you've got it all nice and ready to go, we're going to take our cleanser pad, open it up, and we're going to cleanse the surface of the nail. Again, be very careful with that tear. We don't want to rip it any further. It can get caught on the lint pad here on the alcohol swab, see, like that. And we don't want to rip it any further. So always try to pull so that you're pulling it past the tear, not pulling it back and over the tear. If you do that, you're going to end up ripping it. So just keep in mind that you got to be really careful with that tear there. So now we have the nail nice and clean. We're just going to let that air dry. What you can do is pop it underneath the lamp for a couple of seconds, and that will help the alcohol evaporate. Turn that off. Still a little bit shiny, so I'm just going to wave it a little bit. And I'm going to get my Clearly Frisky ready. So we're just going to roll the bottle of polish gently in between our palms, and that's going to help mix it up inside the bottle. Shaking it can introduce air bubbles, so we're just going to make sure that we roll it gently. And then we're going to open up the bottle of polish and we're going to wipe off. I'm going to show you here. We're going to wipe off most of the polish off the brush, just like we do with our normal manicures. And now you can see that the alcohol has dried, and we're going to take our Clearly Frisky and we're going to paint it over the nail. going over where the crack is, doing a nice thin coat. So we're basically painting our nail with Clearly Frisky with a nice thin coat. So make sure you get close to the cuticle, push it up close to the cuticle there, and pull it down along the tip of your nail. And then make sure that you cap your nail with the Clearly Frisky. So what I do when I get to the crack here on the edge is I make it just a little bit more on this side here so that there's a little bit extra for the tea bag to grab onto. So I'm going to just go over the nail one more time after capping my nail. Okay, and then we're going to close the bottle. And then we're going to take our little piece of tea bag and we're going to put it over top of that crack. So we're pushing it now into the Clearly Frisky. I'm going to hold it up so you can see. If you have it going over the edge of the nail, that is okay. We will deal with that later. But you want it to make sure that it is covering on all sides of the nail. So you can see I'm pushing that down in there. If you have a pair of tweezers, you can use tweezers too, but you don't necessarily need them unless you have a smaller piece of tea bag. But you can see now how it's nicely in there. You can still see the tea bag there. And you just want to make sure that all the edges are pushed down into Clearly Frisky there. That's on your nail. So now we're going to cure that. We're going to pop it under the lamp. Make sure our bottle of polish is closed, and we're going to cure that for the 45 seconds. The next step is actually taking your nail file and smoothing out that area where the tea bag is so that it's not a big bump on the surface of your nail and it's not rough and it doesn't feel out of place, and make your polish when you apply it look kind of bumpy and lumpy in areas. So it's really important to make sure that you do file it down a little bit so that it is nice and smooth, but you want to be careful because you don't want to get through the Clearly Frisky and be filing your natural nail. So just be mindful of that when you are filing it. So now that the light has turned off, you can see it is dry inside the polish there. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to take the white side of our nail file and we're going to just file this really gently so that it's smooth, but we're going to be very careful when we're doing this. So we're just going to gently smooth over the tea bag. Very gently. I'm putting very, very little force on the nail file, and we just want to make sure that we are just gently smoothing it over. So I'm just going to buff over it a little bit. And then what we're going to do is clean with the cleanser pad. Let that air dry a little bit. You can see, I don't know if you can see here, but the crack is right here. Goes across the nail to about here. So that's what we're repairing. So we're going to just make sure that that alcohol has dried on there. Just blow on it a little bit. And then we're going to take Clearly Frisky again, and we're going to do another coat of Clearly Frisky. Again, wiping off as much of the polish as we can, and then doing another coat over top. So you can still kind of see the ridges and the texture of the tea bag through this layer of polish as well. That's okay. The first filing that we did is just a very gentle file, just to sort of even out those little edges on the tea bag. If you start to see that it's lifting up out of the polish, stop filing, clean it off, and apply another coat of Clearly Frisky so that we aren't lifting that bag off of and out of that first layer of polish. So there you can see I've got a second coat of Clearly Frisky on, and you can still see a little bit of the texture of the tea bag and that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and pop it underneath the lamp again. Now the next step is a little bit more filing, but mostly just buffing it smooth. That is all we really need to do, and now you've got your tea bag. It's holding together that split in your nail. It's going to make it a lot easier for you to have nice nails, so you don't have to have one short nail and the rest are all nice and long. It's going to help you be able to grow out that split, especially if it's really far back. Mine was right at the tip of the nail, so it's not as bad as if you were to have a split in your nail that is way far back in the nail bed. So this is a really great method if you do have something like that. It will help you grow out that painful tear. So there you can see that this is now cured, and as I rub my nail over it, it is a lot smoother than that first coat that we had done. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my buffer and I'm going to just buff over the surface of the nail. Really gently, just going over the whole nail. And then you just rub your finger over it, and there will be areas where you can feel that there's still a bit of a lump from the tea bag. That's okay, just take your nail file and just gently go over that area. Just really gently. And then go back and buff again. Now, again, I'm going to feel and make sure that it's nice and smooth. So there's still a little bit of a bump in there, but I'm okay with that. It's not going to be super huge where it's obnoxious and you can see it through the polish. Now, if you were just to have your nail, regular nail, you can just go ahead and put it one more coat of Clearly Frisky over top and you'll be good to go. And if not, you can go ahead and put your polish over top and your tear is perfectly hidden. So I hope you learned something today. If you have any questions, please feel free to let me know and I will help you out. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.